So a quick bit about Ambulo, which is, it started by, so there's James O'Hara and James Hill, who hook up a lot. There's Matt Helders from Arctic Monkeys and James's brother Tom. So, and they got to take this over really late last year. So it's the renovation started January 1st, and it opened last week of Feb. So I don't know if anyone knows about turning places around, but that's quite impressive. And it's open 9 till 9, all day cafe. So for anyone who wants to come down at any other times. So I guess it's you. Do you want to do a quick little introduction about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So I started working for the Rockingham Group about 5 years ago, about 5-6 years ago. I did have a full head of hair before I started working for James. And then working closely with James and India. Unfortunately, we can't see India's beautiful photos today. Kind of working closely and creating menus from kind of travelling really. So we did like trips to the Peak District, we did Cleethorpes, and it kind of, the images created a really good way of telling and like creating a story for the menu really. And then Public, we are able to kind of transfer that and make it into more kind of drinks led, telling the stories instead of the pictures telling the stories. It's all about the menus. Public opened in November 2017 and it's just won Best Place to Drink in the UK. So yeah, super chuffed about it. 2018, yeah, so super chuffed about that. So yeah, that's about it really in terms of.
It's pretty impressive for a toilet.
It is, yeah. Yeah. From bog to bar, great journey.
I absolutely adore it. I think it's perfection. So there was also saying about with the word public itself.
Yeah, so the word public, obviously it was an old public convenience, but it comes from Paul Greenwood was the old caretaker of the toilets, and we've actually found his old logbook when we were clearing it out, and one of the first entries was how he wrote public, and we actually extracted that. Well, I say we, Nick Deakin, amazing.
You can claim it,
Totally okay if you've never checked out any of his work. He extracted his handwriting and then that became the logo of Public. So it was like basically a play on from his old logbook, which is
I love
amazing.
it because there's this case study online of the branding of it. It's beautiful if you Google that. And he also did this place, the branding for this place.
Yeah.
So the menus that you've touched on there.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a bit more about that? Because it's the same as where you've got Public as the name of how it was branded to make that really enriched in what came from the place. I think it's the same with the menus. It's not like Sex on the Beach.
Not quite.
They've all got real stories. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like from locations and from history. And do you want to tell a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So the menu is all different plays on the word public. So public. Footpath is all about locality, so it's all about Sheffield, and I kind of put liquid in a localism in liquid form essentially. So it's about Sheffield, certain monuments that may be dotted around the city centre, or inspired by certain industries that may be started. Sheffield has always been a city of makers, certainly before cocktail shakers, and it was but sweets and chocolate were just just a few of the things that started up in Sheffield, and they're like nice little plays on what the drinks actually become. And then we have Public Holiday. So this section is then all about reminiscent memories. So maybe having strawberries and cream on the south coast in England, or having fish and chips on the beach while eating a can of dandelion and burdock.
There's an incredible slide featuring donkeys, which I really wanted to have on the wall, so we'll make sure that goes out.
It was actually just me and James just drinking on the beach. And then awareness, which kind of brings us on a little bit, what we'll talk about a little bit later on, but awareness is all about sustainability and kind of cross the divide between bar and kitchen, but also trying to maximise the potential within waste, because waste in bars is pretty horrific at the best of times, and we do try our best to limit that, but like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. And then we have liability. Liability is it's for the booze hounds really, or the barflies. It's the boozy drinks that are more kind of spirit led, that's where you'll find pretty much all the whiskey drinks, because we all love whiskey down at Public. And then we have public health. You know, there's a massive trend about drinking less and drinking better. Low ABV drinks as well is certainly a trend. So they're kind of the non-alcoholic section of the menu. And that's it really, yeah, I think.
Yeah, I like this one. It says, an ode to the designated driver, the teetotal and the straight edge punk. The non-alcoholic section, where no longer must you be relegated to half a lime and soda.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's amazing. And so I guess then it's coming to the theme of water. What I loved, because we've started doing a thing last year where for a week before the talk, the speaker does a takeover of the social media, and just how you took that on with the water was amazing. Because I was thinking water cocktails, there's a link there, but you guys like really ran with it. And I think as a group, it was really interesting to find out how much you are actually considering water. So how much this did fit. So do you want to talk a bit more about, as a group, what you're doing, the Rockingham group, what you're doing with water?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I can't take credit for the photos, because like I say, they are just all India's beautiful photos. I just uploaded them to Instagram, really. So that wasn't too bad.
No, but the facts and stuff is really interesting. So
yeah, well, even just after Penny asked me to do this talk, I just had a little look, and there was an amazing article actually on BBC last week. But 1 in 3 people on the planet don't have an actual toilet of their own. 1 in 9 don't even have clean water close to their home, and 31% of the world's schools don't even have clean water, which is just absolutely amazing. It just kind of like blew my mind, really. And then there's obvious things that we can kind of do to kind of help this. You know, taking short showers and not baths, being more water efficient, you know, full loads of washing machines, just really little simple things. Turn off the tap when you're not brushing your teeth, and don't water your lawn, it will actually survive. But hopefully after, you know, we'll kind of go into depth in it a little bit longer, but it is kind of just little things like that you can take away, like cleaning your teeth or having a slightly less shower. It's definitely things that you can kind of take away and use less water for sure.
Because it's saying as well, to read here from the fact as well, that it's predicted that within the next 25 years, England will be suffering from a severe lack of water and not be able to supply our needs. It's reported that on average each individual uses 140 litres of water a day, and if we can reduce this to just 100, which sounds like a huge amount, it would provide enough water for an additional 20 million people. So yeah, nice and cheery for this month. But yeah, but there's things that you can do with it, and I think there was like, because it's like the waste of water that bars use. So there was a bit that you were talking about that, but you also had 3 or 4 really great examples of places that are doing fabulous stuff about that.
Yeah, for sure. There's, you know, wasted bars, I've kind of already touched on a little bit, is absolutely disgusting. You know, even at Public, you think about the cocktails being stirred down over ice, or, you know, you got ice in a Boston shaker and you just throw that ice away. Straight away, you know, you're wasting, I can't remember how much I said it was 20 litres per hour at Public alone, if that's based on 45 covers, which is kind of about what we do, which is absolutely absurd when you think of like a massive scale venue, you know, like some of the big chains, which I won't mention. But, you know, they do like 10 to 20, 30 times the volume that Public does, you know, and if Public's wasting that kind of water, then I dread to think kind of what big chains do. And it's definitely something that we've tried to actively think about for sure. You know, after all, waste is, I guess, human nature. You know, it is because of us why waste exists. So it's kind of, I think we should all be quite aware of how not to waste, and kind of opportunities maybe on how to do that. There's certainly a good couple, which I kind of was telling Penny about earlier. There's one called White Lion, which actually closed now to become a restaurant by the same owner. But they did all bottled and batch cocktails, so they had no ice, they had, well, no perishables whatsoever, and it was all batch cocktails, which is a really good idea. So you kind of measure the dilution in the drink, and then yeah, just batch it up, and then you just chill it, which I've got an example to show you guys later on of how I did it. And then we also have Terra Tapas, which is in Bournemouth, and they're absolutely amazing. It's like their whole concept is based around preserving and enhancing what we have on Earth, is kind of a quote that I took off their website. But their whole design is kind of based around sustainability, and they have a system in place which is called grey water, where all of their water from their sinks, so even if they are making drinks with ice, diluting it, you know, all of that melted water then goes into running the toilets and waters the plants as well. That's in this, you know, in and around the bar. You know, we have these amazing plants here. You know, it's kind of thinking about little ways where you can reuse the water to maybe, you know, feed the plants or something like that.
It says here the UK is sadly one of the only countries to still use fresh water to
in the
flush toilets.
Yeah.
It's very decadent.
Yes, it's insane, really. Yeah. And then at Terroir Tapas as well, they've got wines on tap, which you're going to kind of see a lot more of. We've got it here at Ambulo, and cocktails as well. And that's more kind of less water based, but more about kind of waste management. Recycling costs is absolutely crazy, and it's a really good way of, you know, cutting down recycling. The kegs that the wine comes in, you know, there's 80% plastic, and the other 20% they're still working on now because it's still a very new product. And I think it's kind of good because you can measure, especially in the cocktails like the ones we have here, you can measure the dilution before scaling it up to, you know, 20 litres for each cocktail. So it does help with speed of service as well, especially when you've got like an 80 cover restaurant.
It's a bit more than Public.
Yeah, slightly more. So our 24 seats. But just one keg replaces 40 bottles alone, which is still insane when you think about it.
And here at Ambulo it says you go through 3 kegs a week,
Yeah.
120 bottles.
Yeah, so 120 bottles. So you can already think, you know, the bin that's full a week, which has already been replaced. And then kind of talking about bottled water as well, which we serve here, is it's, you know, it saves on unnecessary packaging. We reuse all the bottles and there's no spillages, there's no waste. You know, the bottle fits perfectly. We've measured it so it fits perfectly under the tap, so there's no overflows, there's no spills. You know, it was reported that it takes 3 litres of water to produce 1 litre of water alone. So if we're, you know, just, it's absolutely insane. So just things like, you know, having refilled bottled water is just something that we can certainly all do at home, you know, instead of buying bottled water. As well,
because it's the plastic as well as the water, but if you think about like how much water is used for the plastic recycling,
yeah, absolutely,
all the rest of it, so it's everything aside of it as well.
It's insane. Yeah, it's so easy just to refill your bottle, chill it overnight instead of just going to the shop and buying a new one straight away. And then
so for Public,
and then Public, of course. So it's something I kind of touched on earlier about our public awareness and trying to maximise the potential in waste. We reuse quite a lot of ingredients, so spent coffee, we then make a kind of coffee infused sherry. The sherry balances out the bitterness in the coffee that's already been kind of extracted with one flavour. Stale bread we also use, so at the end of the night any unsold bread we then infuse into a gin and then make a play on a breakfast martini with it. So it's kind of like, has an amazing bready, marmaladey taste. Any citrus as well, so any kind of peels or any little bits of fruit that we don't have, that we don't use, at the end of the night, we then make different cordials with. So it's just little ways of trying to reuse, you know, ends of charcuterie as well. We infuse into a mezcal and make this like incredible umami play on melon and ham, which is quite cool. And then rotten bananas as well. So any rotten bananas in the fruit bowl actually have this amazing sweetness. You know, you can make like this incredible banoffee pie that Christina Totti makes at Milk Bar in New York. But yeah, we infuse it into Campari with bourbon as well. So it's kind of like really sweet. Tastes like foam bananas, but it's actually a play on a Negroni, which is really great. And then water.
I want to try all of these.
Should have just bought the whole menu down. And then, yeah, about water. So we do batch our drinks to try and reduce kind of chilling them down as much as possible. We have also got 1 keg cocktail, but unfortunately we haven't got the room to have, you know, 7 or 8 like they do here. We also have, I don't know if anyone's noticed, we have the big blocks of ice, which we do stamp our logo into, but it's not just for design or aesthetically pleasing. Actually, it takes longer to dilute the drink, but you actually just got the one ice cube. You haven't just got the glass that's just full of ice and it just melts really quickly. And that's it, yeah, I think, in terms of public,
this was
really.
for me to ask about. Tell us about the closed loop drinks.
The closed loop drink. So we've also been experimenting for the new menu of any water or ice that we do that does melt while we're making the drinks is actually saving it. It's just really simple, just in a colander essentially, and leaving that water to melt, and then brewing that water, just bring it to the boil with tea bags in, and then making a kombucha out of it. So that then is using the recycled water, and it makes a fermented tea, essentially, is what a kombucha is. And then using different flavours with that. We've actually got one on the menu at the minute, which is called the Wee Hector, where we've got a passion fruit kombucha. But we're just thinking of different ways then again that we can kind of recycle and use water, really.
Super. So I think we've come up to what would have been our last slide, with some killer quotes. So bars aren't going to completely stop water waste, but creativity can certainly help find solutions, which I think we're hearing some about there. And I guess it's just awareness and habit in it, and kind of, I think in 10 years it'll be crazy that people aren't thinking about it. I think it's...
Yeah, definitely.
I think this is going to be it is the future, right?
Yeah, as nice as it is to, like that kind of nice spell of weather we had in February. I'm super pale and I used to be ginger, so don't actually like nice weather that much. But yeah, it is a little bit worrying, and I think anything we can do to kind of help global warming and reduce water waste is definitely...
Well, the reservoirs were on by me. I have 3, and they were not like all at the bottom. It was crazy. Really? Like the stone walls that hadn't been seen for 50 plus years. Just, it was a bit spooky. Yeah, it's insane. So do you want to, there's your quote as well, so you want to say your final quote?
So the kind of, I was trying to think, Penny had a really good idea of having one thing to kind of, to leave people with, and I just thought, if we don't protect our waters, then what will happen to life? And I just thought that was quite a nice little sum up, really, I guess.
And we've got, do you need to give people a shout to?
Yeah, so I've got a little idea of batch drinks, which I'll kind of get people to hand out in a minute. But yeah, I guess if anyone's got any questions or...
So I think first of all, round of applause.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Jack. And thanks so much, because we did have to change the format last minute. So thank you for being on board with that. And as Jack said, so there's going to be someone who's going to, I think, start delivering some cocktails round while we do a bit of Q&A.
We're okay to
it's all live.
Get someone to hand these out, is that right, mate? Thanks.
You can all be thinking of your questions, though, isn't it? Is that all?
Yeah, they're going to bring them down.
So, has anyone got any questions? Karen?
It's certainly been a challenge, and I think it's been quite nice at Public to have that challenge a little bit. We had one person, which we've actually used the quote, like when we first opened, the review was worst pub I've ever been in. And I thought that was kind of like a nice way to kind of use in the menu.
Should get it made on t-shirts.
Yeah, God bless Sheffield. But yeah, it's a challenge, and I think it's kind of nice to have that challenge, and you're not just making the same drinks that everyone else can kind of do, and try and challenge yourself. I think then breeds creativity a little bit as well, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. Lovely. Anyone else?
I just wanted to say I think it's really great that you're addressing the issue in the catering industry, because it is just such a wasteful industry. But I think it's one of those interesting things where it's suppliers as well.
Yeah.
In this country, we don't actively recycle glass bottles, for instance. Where if you go to Germany, we buy beer off the shelf that goes straight back to the supplier, and like glass bottles and lunchbox and things. I just think it's really interesting that you're actively starting.
Yeah, definitely, and like it is frustrating with suppliers. As, we get individually wrapped apples. When we order like 10, 12 apples, and they all come individually wrapped. And it's just like it's such a waste.
Yeah.
Strawberries with they have a paper punnet and then a plastic punnet over top. It's just like It is ridiculous. So it isn't just water that we do need to look at ourselves, I guess.
Is there other other suppliers tackling that as well?
Certainly not in Sheffield, I don't think, no. There's the
Do you
place,
source a lot locally?
Yeah, we try to do as local as we can, really. With the whole of the Publix kind of scheme, we've tried to be as collaborative as possible, really. You know, Sid and Mallory did the aprons. Obviously, Nick and India are kind of an amazing team. All the suppliers we like to use local, you know, to try and support Sheffield independent businesses, really. But it is certainly a challenge. The place I talked about earlier, Terrar Tapas, all of their suppliers actually are forced to use their boxes. So they have like wooden boxes that they give to the suppliers, like, we're not going to use you unless you use us. So that's kind of something that we could maybe look at, because it is a really good idea. Yeah, try and exactly, yeah. So people could then start looking at themselves, I guess. Yeah.
Where was the White Lion? Was it White Lion?
Yes, it's in
Based?
Hoxton.
Hoxton.
Yeah. They've now Hoxton. Yeah. They've now changed it to a sustainable restaurant. So they've kind of moved away from the bar and trying to tackle the restaurant in the same way, really. But it is really good to see. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I heard on radio this morning from England, gin sales have doubled.
Yeah.
Why gin? And can you make predictions as what's going to be the next?
Fingers crossed it's whiskey, because I just absolutely love whiskey. But it's
And we need to talk.
Yeah. When me and Penny go for lunch, we're just going to go for a couple of whiskeys. It's purely down to flavoured gins. You know, tasting more and more like liqueurs and less like gin. Essentially, you know, they could be becoming less and less juniper heavy, and more kind of fruit and sweeter. You know, there's like a mince pie gin at Christmas, which is just insane. And that's purely why, you know, they're just
Bit of marketing as well, I guess.
Yeah, they've just kind of caught onto the trend. But I can't predict the future, unfortunately, so I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure.
Can't you? Well, I think unless anyone's got any other questions, then... Oh, sorry.
Good question. So
This one that I don't have. Hi.
So it's actually a batched Bloody Mary. So I made the sauce. It's kind of like a really intense sauce. So I cooked it for a couple of hours last night. It's got carrots, onions, essentially like you'd make a bolognese sauce. And it's got loads of tomatoes, and then I batched it with water and vodka, and it's just chilled overnight. So there's no ice, and it's just been kept in the fridge. So just a way again of looking, really simple ways of kind of looking at how to make cocktails, please. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah, it's like a fancy Bloody Mary.
Good question, that. 'Cause I was just more concentrated that I didn't have. Good question. Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
That's how you picked up on the desire for low alcohol and no alcohol stuff. Because in my local pub, they tried out some no alcohol cider. And then when I asked for some, they said, oh, there's no demand for it. I think I single-handedly drank all they had.
Was it just fizzy apple juice? Or? Yeah, it was purely just a trend for it again, of people drinking less and drinking better. I think kind of growing up in the industry, you do kind of see that even when you go out yourself, and it's like, you see the same thing over and over again. It's kind of nice to, you know, have less kind of alcohol drinks all the time, and you can't just keep drinking spirits, or, you know, I think.
The seed lip, which I love.
Yes, seed lips, basically a distilled water. So they're making it the same way they make gin. But instead of using ethanol, they're just using water, so that's a really good way of doing it.
But it's beautifully bottled. Like, what I like about it is, and it's a bit what you were touching on, where you're saying instead of just that lime and soda. So if you're not drinking but going out with friends, you feel like you're on a lesser deal, or just having a Coke. Whereas the seed lip stuff, they make them as lovely,
as a spirit. Essentially,
they're on a price point as a bottle of gin.
Yeah,
and they look beautiful, and so it's making it a bit more like a real alternative. Equal alternative.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just nice not to be frowned upon anymore. You know, if you do want to go out with your mates and not drink, then it's fine. You know, so
I think that's a bit the future.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, well, I'd like to say thank you
So
very
there was
much.
just one more,
Oh, sorry, Alec.
Just one other thing. Well, thanks for my wife for not making me feel like a 7-year-old when we go out and just drink. But also, what's next for Public and like what do you want to do with Public and the group in the next 2-3 years?
I'd love to, yeah, good question. I'd love to take Public to another city for sure. As great it is to win the Observer Award, it's still so difficult to get people to review places in Sheffield. There was actually
hunting toilets. In
yeah. So yeah, maybe moving, somewhere else as well. Taking it as a, now it's kind of created a brand. Kind of move that to somewhere else, which would be really cool. We've already started working on the next menu as well, which it takes so long. Even just do the little fun play connotations. It does take
It's
a while.
so well thought out, though. It's beautiful.
So yeah, it'd be nice to take it somewhere else for sure. Yeah.
Lindsay.
I've got a question kind of related to that. What does an average day for a cocktail manager how much alcohol do you consume?
Probably not as much as I'd like, to be honest. It's okay actually. Long gone are the nights of just doing, long gone are the days of just doing 5 nights a week, which is quite nice. But you do have to start somewhere. But it's certainly changing. I think places like Ambulo being open in the day and having that offering, so it's not just a nighttime thing. If you do want to go and have a glass of wine a day, it offers opportunities for people to get in the industry that way. So that's kind of nice, I guess. Especially with people starting out, I would have loved for something like this. Creating really good products, but having a kind of a nice time frame to do it in, I guess. Yeah.
Sorry, I'll come back to you, Dora.
Say that's yummy, that's all.
Okay.
I just wondered what the garnish is in that, because that's delicious, that big.
It's an nasturtium leaf, so it's just super peppery. It's
None of your regular stuff.
it's part of I can't remember what leaf family it's part of, to be honest.
Jack.
Sorry, let you down.
Anyone else? Sorry. Yes, Steve.
Do you have like a sense of how scalable your ideas are into the bigger chains, and if there is a movement to do that?
Everything we do try and do is on, we don't have any fancy equipment that uses loads of energy. A lot of our infusions, we just use the expelled heat off the top of the coffee machine, because that's running like all day, so it's it's always pretty hot. So they're all super scalable. If anyone who's got a coffee machine in a bar or a restaurant can scale these up.
I mean the waste, like the waste of water and the waste.
Well, yeah, the same again, really. Like, the one that we're looking at making the kombucha, you let the ice melt, you take the wastewater and you brew a tea. So you could quite easily do it at home. So it is a super easy way of doing it, which is kind of nice. I think it's a kind of a good way to kind of, if you try and be really lo-fi in the way you do it, then it offers opportunities for everyone else to do it. Yeah.
We should do a tips book.
Maybe in the back of the next menu.
Yeah.
Yeah, write that one down.
Anyone else? Okay, then I kept getting surprised. So it looked like I was trying to wrap it up, and then. So thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
If you want to stay, the cafe will now be open. So you're also welcome to hang around a bit. Okay, thanks very much. Thanks Jack. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That was great.
Yeah, cheers.
So I have to give these.